Stoppies. Everyone's amazed by them. I'm going to show just how it's done with a little help from a star pupil.
My biggest problem is I don't actually have a road bike, so it's hard to practice. So it's an awkward situation. You win a race or you've had a good result. You want to do something a bit different, but you don't want to be the biggest fool. Because everybody will remember when I go over the handlebars trying to do a stoppie. Everybody will remember when I high side doing a rolling burnout. But they're two things I want to be able to master. Yeah. So anyway, I need as many tips.
Okay.
General
Well,
advice.
we're going to make sure that you don't go over the front, and we're going to make sure that there's no accidents, because after we've made this video, when you do go over the front, everyone will know it's my fault.
Yeah. The first thing I do is I don't really push my weight forward. What I do is I make sure the front brake's all right.
Okay.
So, because when I'm racing, the front brake, you've got obviously a lot of feel for it, but you're not squeezing it that hard. So I get used to squeezing it that hard, and I sort of nearly do one, then I let the brake off, then I do one.
Yeah.
That's what I normally do, which is probably wrong, and that's why I'm going too slow, because I've killed too much speed in my first sort of just getting the front brake right.
And I'll tell you what happens there. You hesitate, then you squeeze it again, and all you end up doing is diving the front end into the ground. The back end comes up at a great rate of knots.
Yeah.
And it just looks like amateur, and you've nearly gone over the front. Yeah. Okay then, time to show Neil just how it's done. If I can get him off the phone. Whose phone's that?
That'll be mine, won't it? Oh, that's my mother. I'm not going to answer it. No, it's not actually. It's a friend of mine called Malcolm.
Well, say hello to Malcolm then.
It's all right.
Okay. All right.
It is slow. It's Malcolm.
Okay. So we'll start from the beginning. All right. To get you over the line is style, Neil. All right. So lift your bum off the seat. Take your weight off the bike. Grip the tank with your knees. Make the top half rigid, roll your shoulders forward. Now you want to be looking forward of the bike. You don't want to be really looking at the floor, you want to be looking forward, the direction you're going. Squeeze the brake on, and as the front end starts to dive, you'll feel the back end become light, and just squeeze it on that little bit extra. Now you've got to do this very quickly, because when you're actually squeezing the front brake, you're losing speed all the time. So what you'll do initially is you'll practice them, and you'll almost come to a dead stop by the time your back end's up. And ultimately, what you want to do is you want to plant that front end in the ground now, you know? But you've got to get your stance correctly. Gripping the tank, lifting your bum out the seat, keeping your top half rigid, bang, and it's up, all right? Look forward, and by keeping your top half rigid, you become part of the bike. At 50 miles an hour, your rear wheel should be up in the air by losing maybe 1 or 2 miles an hour. That's it, it's that quick. And you're running on slicks. Should be no problem at all.
Yeah, there's no problem with the front washing out. You mentioned before about sometimes you can be aware that you can lose the front.
Yeah.
But that's...
Well, I have to be. I mean, probably the fastest I've ever hit the deck is about 90 mile an hour, and the front end washed away, and it was like that.
Bang, yeah, no warning.
No warning. I'm on the floor, and you know, what was all that about? I didn't know what happened.
It's quite a nice feeling, don't you think?
You're a bit sick in the head, you are.
I actually do need help, but that is another story.
One thing to remember is, if ever you're doing a stoppie on an off camber.
That's what a lot of it is. A lot of the tracks are slightly cambered, so you can sort of see it, but I don't know what to do.
Okay, an off camber, and we'll take Brands Hatch for instance. Brands Hatch is a horrendous camber. I mean, for me, I try and stay away from somewhere like that. But if you were looking down the circuit and it's off camber like that, the second we put it onto the front wheel, the rear wheel will always climb up the camber.
Right.
Okay, you'd think it'd fall away, but it doesn't. It climbs into the camber.
Right.
Now, the way to correct the rear end from moving to the left or the right, if it moves to the left, you steer to the left. If it moves to the right, you steer to the right. But this is very, very short, sharp, precise movements in order to keep the rear end straight. So, bang, we're up onto the front wheel, and if you stood in front of me and I went towards you on a stopper, you would see me like this. And I'm constantly correcting the rear end, constantly. And it's just very, very small movements. You know, the rear end goes to the left, I correct it, then straight to the right, to the left, to the right. Very small, and I'm all the way down like this. I'm gripping the tank, I've got my top half rigid, and I'm looking forward like this.
So one thing, I didn't know if you slid right up to the tank.
You
because
can
when
do.
I brake when I'm racing, I'm constantly pushing my weight back because if I put all my weight at the front, then the bike can be nervous under braking,
Yeah.
and you can't quite brake as late. I'm trying to keep my weight back. Do you keep off the tank, or do you slide up to the tank?
Once it becomes second nature, I can sit in the seat, I can stand up, I can be up against the
Doesn't really
tank,
make much
I can be
difference
sat
to
on the
you, yeah.
front, I can whatever.
So initially for me, it's almost whatever I'm comfortable with.
What you're
really.
comfortable with, but try and make yourself part of the bike. The other thing is, the higher the rear wheel is, the more distance you'll carry for your existing speed. Okay?
Yeah.
So what I'll do is, if I'm doing a very, very long stop, if I'm demonstrating how to go very, very far on the front wheel,
You get as high as you can.
yeah, I'll initially lift the rear wheel up. I'll become that rigid structure that we've spoken about. Okay? Once I'm in position and I'm comfortable, because you've got a lot of time up there to think about things, as the speed decreases, I'll give it more squeeze to lift the rear wheel higher and higher and higher until in the end, I'm almost forcing myself to stop going over the front. I'm right on there, and I can pull another 40 or 50 feet out of the bag just because
You're vertical.
I've almost gone to a balancing point. Now the balancing point on a wheelie is very much different to the balancing point on a stoppie. A stoppie, it is so small.
Well,
The difference between
I can
going
imagine.
over a nut is tiny.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is true, but you've no lifesaver. With a wheelie, you hit your back brake, that'll save your life.
Yeah.
Where if you get past the point, over the balancing point, what do? You've crashed, really.
You're
doing everything you physically can to move your body weight back, but it's too late if you've gone over the...
You have got, there is a small, there is something you can look at, okay? If ever you are in front of 100,000 people, Neil, and you don't want to make a fool of yourself, if you find yourself in that position where you've give it too much and there's no way out, you know, and you know how things...
I'll be cursing and I'll be thinking of you.
Think of me, but you know how everything goes quiet in slow motion,
Yeah.
right? At that point, the only safety net you've got is to lift yourself up like this. Lift yourself back, almost throw yourself. You can't. It's no good. It's no good saying I'm going to release the brake now. It's too late.
Yeah,
you know.
you're past that
You're
point.
trying to release the brake, but you're also trying to get your weight back, and you can almost throw yourself back like this and save it.
Have you done that?
Yeah, I've done it. You're a lucky man if you can do it.
People at your level, do people still go over the bars though?
Yeah.
Do you see it like quite often?
Well, I went over the bars last year and I broke my foot, and I was actually sat on the tank with my feet over the bars, and I was messing around, but. What we'd done earlier on that day is we'd polished the bikes and sprayed them in silicone to make them look good for the cameras.
Yeah.
And then I decided to show off at the end of the day and wondered why I just slipped straight off the front and the bike followed me. But it happened so slow. It was about, I don't know, 5-6 miles an hour. And as I stepped out of the way, the bike came over and it just literally, it landed on my heel and snapped my foot forward. It was slow motion, and you know, many of my injuries are slow. So, do you think, Neil, with a little bit more tuition, we could get you over that line in style?
Yeah, I do. I've definitely learned something there.
Yeah.
So hopefully, the problem is I need to spend time practicing it. And ideally, I don't want to practice on anything except a Ducati. So I've got to sort of wait till I'm on my race bike really. So,
Yeah.
but I do think it's important. I think because what we do is I race motorcycles, but it is entertainment, you know, and that's all. It is all part of it, you know. If everybody likes to see, I love to see Valentino Rossi win because I always think, what's he going to do next? Because he's an entertainer.
Yeah.
And just going like that to the crowd isn't much of entertainment after a race.
No.
Not that that's a priority. The priority is to win, you know. But
Yeah.
it is just nice to have the ability to be able to pull a good stoppie.
So, will we see Neil stopping across the finishing line? Well, we'll just have to wait and see. Please remember, both Neil and myself are experienced and professional riders. So don't try this at home.
Right, what you do, Craig, is the easiest thing in the world. Anybody with half a brain could do what you do. It's so simple. Pulling wheelies and doing stoppies. Are you not embarrassed that that's all you can do? Yeah, exactly.
Don't laugh, Craig.
No, you might as well laugh. It's absolutely appalling. I'd be ashamed. What do you tell people? I'm a stunt man. Anybody can do it.